And welcome back. Well, it's not just the CHP today, it's sort of a combined segment here. We have PI Officer Chris Goodwin. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
And about another month for you until we have Aaron on here a little bit more permanently, right?
October 1st.
Yeah, not far away. And then we have Captain Steve Concialdi. He is the PIO officer for the Orange County Fire Authority, and it's great to have you.
Thank you, Ken.
Both on. It's a lot of fun to have you both here. I've known these guys for many, many years, so it's good to see them. For many years, Steve, you had conducted something along with Chris, but it's something that you particularly like to put on, and if I'm not mistaken, it was called FAD. Am I right?
Yeah, Friends Against Drinking and Driving.
Yeah.
So, since 1991, Orange County Fire and Friends Against Drinking and Driving, with partners like the CHP, Orange County Sheriff's Department, Mission Hospital, Doctor's Ambulance, Medics Ambulance, local towing companies have put on mock DUI crashes. And I just want to commend Chris. Before he was a CHP officer back in the early 90s, he played our drunk driver. So he was there, you know, young, he looked like a teenager, young adult, and he used to play the drunk driver in these.
Yeah, and they have been quite beneficial. I know you go around to the high schools and do this, and you literally create a scenario that this accident just happened, and you arrive on the scene, and you have people playing the victims in this. And it's quite, I haven't gone to this, but I've seen pictures, I've seen videos of it. It's quite realistic, even to the point you might have other kids that are involved who play people who are maybe a friend of the victim or a family member, so they're crying. It's designed, obviously, to shock people into saying, you know what, this is what can happen to you.
Exactly. It's a shock and awe factor, but with all these different agencies, it looks real. And this is a reenactment of an actual accident that happened in Saddleback Valley, where two people died and 3 people were seriously injured.
Wow.
And so we're just trying to show that. And just, I know this is one of Chris's last time, so it's just to thank him for his partnership all these years with the mock DUI crashes.
Yeah, you've played a lot of roles in this, and you've
I
helped
have
out
many,
quite a
many.
bit.
Oh yes, a lot of high schools, a lot of kids, and you know, we'll never know how many lives we truly saved, because obviously if they're not crashing, we're not counting that as a statistic, but we know that we've saved a lot of people. And yeah, Steve was one of the original creators of the whole program, and then statewide, you know, the California Highway Patrol had the grant where we fund a lot of the programs across the state, about 150 schools a year. And it's called Every 15 Minutes. And it's associated with every 15 minutes somebody in the United States is either injured or killed due to somebody that's impaired driving. That can be alcohol or drugs or a combination of.
Have you seen, at least in the statistics that you have for California or Southern California, how does it compare to 20, 30 years ago as far as especially drunk driving overall, but with the younger kids, in other words, teenagers, maybe in early 20s, with all the more information that has been out there with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, that sort of thing, has there been an overall reduction to years ago?
Well, we've seen, you know, it's gone up and down. I think there's a lot more education nowadays, so people are more aware of it. However, we've created other social issues, and that's cell phones, which have created a lot of crashes in itself. But when we're talking about just impaired driving, it's just not alcohol. A lot of unfortunately teens nowadays are getting involved in narcotics and drugs and marijuana, because as you know, if somebody can legally get a marijuana card, they are under an assumption somehow they can smoke marijuana legally, maybe. However, they also think that they can drive. Well, no, you can't drive even if you're legally allowed to possess marijuana. So that's created a lot of problems in itself too. And we've had the other problem too, where a lot of teens have gone into their parents' medicine cabinets and take pills. And what they do is they take those various pills that they don't even know what they're getting or have, take them to say a party on a Friday or Saturday night, they throw them in a big bowl, and it becomes kind of like just a bowl fest where kids just randomly start picking pills out that look enticing based on the color or size, and then they don't know what they have. And Steve's been on these calls before.
Yeah, you've been on the other end of it, where you come in and somebody medically has a problem. You may not even know what they took. You might go in there and see a bowl of pills. Well, I know you guys know a lot of what that is, but to try and assess the situation where you don't even know what they took, or maybe they took multiple things.
And a lot of times it's deadly. When you mix prescription drugs and alcohol, that's a deadly combination. And we see that. We see the teenagers overdoses, we see parents overdosing. And so, in these programs, like Chris mentioned, it's not only the DUI drivers, but it's the distracted drivers. Texting and driving is becoming a major problem. And we see so many accidents where teenagers and young adults are distracted, or even the parents that are distracted, they're texting and they rear end somebody, or they go through a red light and they T-bone somebody. So we're just trying to educate the public that these are real, this really happens out here, and we're just trying to save as many lives as possible.
And driving when you're impaired doesn't just mean people think it's alcohol. Well, it's not. It can even be legal prescription medicines. They are legal to have these. They need them. And they come with cautions on them. This could impair your driving. It says something to that effect. But someone can be cited just for that. They could be taking whatever medication it is, and if it impairs their driving, well, there's a problem there.
Oh, absolutely. And the state legislature is working on a specific code where they're going to identify DUI as being a separate violation just for being under the influence of narcotics. Now, currently it's in the same section as alcohol and drugs, but they're going to have a separate section so we can keep very detailed statistics on how many people are under the influence of narcotics. The problem is that, yes, a lot of us, and it doesn't matter what age you are taking some type of legal medication from a doctor, but they don't ask their doctor specifically, can I drive with this? So you need to ask your doctor, you need to also ask your pharmacist, what's safe, what can I drive with? If not, how am I going to get around? Who's going to be my transportation? Are there other options? Absolutely. There's friends, there's local buses, there's also the cabs, and then, as we all know, there's the spouse that might be able to run you around to various locations. So whatever you do, don't push the issue. If you legally have something that's allowed to be taken, just be sure that you're allowed to drive with that.
Yeah, exactly. And I would even go further that if you're just sick in such a way that, suppose you have the flu, you have a high fever or something like that, that's driving while you're impaired. Now, maybe you're not going to cite somebody for that, but we've all been in that situation where you're just in a fog and you get in the car and drive. So that's part of it too. You mentioned the texting and driving, and it's amazing how often that still goes on. I would say I see it daily. Easily, I see that daily. And I know there are high fines for this, but it's amazing that message, I don't believe, has yet gotten out is as effective as other ones. And yet I see it all the time.
And we see the crashes daily.
Yes.
Just because, and in a rear end accident, there might not be major injuries every time, but you've damaged both vehicles. You have to go through your insurance. Your car is out of commission for a while. It costs everybody. Insurance rates are rising because of all this. And again, it's a daily occurrence, these traffic accidents.
Yeah, and let's talk about, when you talk about traffic accidents, another thing that I think came into law, maybe it was the start of this year or last year, I forget, but if you're on roads, particularly on the freeway, and I would assume, I know it goes for a police officer that's on the highway that has pulled somebody over an incident, I assume with anyone with the fire department as well, is that you have an obligation to, try and move over safely to another lane and slow down if it's possible. That's part of the law now. If somebody does not do that, they can be cited for that. There's been many, many incidents where you're helping somebody out, doing what you need to be done, and somebody comes up from behind and plows into that, to the officer that's there, or the victim that may be there, or whatever it is. That is a law now, isn't it?
It is, and that applies to emergency vehicles that have their lights activated.
Okay.
And that's the fire department, the CHP, the local police, or the sheriff's department on the freeway, on the right shoulder. And that also applies to the tow companies that have their, like AAA, if they have their lights activated on the right shoulder, yet that law applies as well. And Caltrans workers if their lights are going. The reason is that we've had a lot of people where cars are drifted over onto the right shoulder and taken out those vehicles. So what you have to do is, yes, you have to legally move over a lane if you're about to pass one of those emergency vehicles. However, if you can't do so, then you have to slow down to a reasonable speed. It doesn't define what that reasonable speed is.
Right.
It's probably 10, 15 under the speed limit.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're going by a CHP officer with lights on, you probably want to be doing about 50, 55 if you can't change lanes.
Yeah, there's something that you told me years ago, is that when people are looking at something, you're supposed to be driving forward and you look at something at the side of the road, no matter what it is, particularly if it's flashing lights at night, you tend to drift where you're looking, which is, you know, it's true in anything. It's true in even sports. They always say if you're playing soccer, look to where you want to put the ball or whatever it might be. But I remember we talked about that.
Oh,
once.
absolutely. And that's with especially riding motorcycles too. You look at the point where you want to end up. You don't look at, and that's the problem. A lot of people, wherever their eyes are focused, that's where the car is going to automatically drift towards. And that's why so many people run on to the right shoulder and take out an emergency vehicle, because they're focused on our lights and they're not aware of the fact that they're actually drifting over to the right. So it's very important that, yeah, people just stay focused on the road ahead. Don't mind the car on the right. I know it's hard to do, but
and I'll share a story. Chris was almost killed. When we're on freeways and highways, it's very dangerous. And you could share it. Basically, you were helping a stranded motorist. And tell us about what happened.
Yeah, a woman was dropped off on the side of the freeway with her suitcase by her husband. I know,
Real nice.
Unfortunate situation, and it was. I thought she was just a pedestrian on the roadway, which she was, but she was obviously dropped off a few minutes before. And so I stopped to help her, and I said, "Well, I'll give you a ride off the freeway. Let's get you to a safe location." And as I put her suitcase in the trunk of my vehicle, we were standing at the right rear of the patrol car, and I saw off the corner of my eye a white Trans Am spinning towards us. So I yelled, "Car!" and we both ran, and he slammed into my patrol car. We didn't get hit, luckily, but the patrol car got hit, and nobody was injured. But
Wow.
it shows you how easy it is for people to run off the roadway if they're not paying attention. And he admitted he saw my vehicle, which didn't even have lights on, and it caused him to lose control and go into a spin.
Wow, that happened quite a long time ago.
Yeah, that was in 1996 when I was working on the 10 freeway up in Pomona.
Wow, that's amazing. Let's talk about a little bit what people do or should try to do when they see the lights flashing on the fire truck coming down the highway. And particularly though, if you're in a congested area, in other words, let's right over here, El Toro and Moulton, sometimes people begin to panic a little bit. They see the fire truck coming down, but all three lanes are blocked. What is the best thing that they can do? If they cannot get over to one side, is it better just to stay there or just wait till the traffic clears?
Yeah, so what we recommend for everybody to do, and it's the law, you pull to the right. However, if you're at a light and you see us coming in, no matter if it's the CHP or the fire department, the sheriff's department, code 3, then you just have to stay put. If you cannot move over, what happens is we always pass on the left. And a lot of times there's a left-hand turn lane that's open, and we'll be going towards that to pass on the left, and a car will think they're doing the right thing, and they'll pull over to the left and block us. So basically, pull to the right, and if you can't pull to the light, if you're already stopped, you need to stay put, and we will go around you.
All right.
And the next thing is, if the light is red, we'll never push somebody into an intersection. So just stay put there. If your light is red, we don't want you going through an intersection because you could be hit by cars going the opposite way.
Right, and even, you see those old movies and all on TV shows where you see the police cars and the fire trucks blazing through a red light. Well, you don't do that. In fact, you'll come, if you're coming up to a red light, every time I see it, you guys come to almost a complete stop. I mean, if you have to come to a complete stop, there's traffic crossing, you obviously will. Correct. But you sit there and almost come to a complete stop. You're looking, and it takes, you'll take several seconds, whatever is needed, to make sure it's clear that you guys can proceed through, because that could obviously create another problem. It's not like what you see on the movies or anything.
We have to arrive safely.
Yeah.
And basically, we cannot create another emergency going to the first emergency. So
Right.
all of us drive very safe, and just we need to make sure the cars pull to the right or stop if you're at an intersection. So
All right.
never pull to the left.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I thank you guys for coming on today, and it was good to see you both. We'll be seeing certainly more of you. You may come on once or twice
Still
again.
may get me once in a while.
Yeah, well, we will. Maybe you'll be your you'll be our special guest or something like that. So
Sounds good.
it's good to have you both on.